Former Nigerian leader Muhammadu Buhari dies aged 82. Nigeria's former President Muhammadu Buhari, who has died age 82 in a London clinic, was a former military ruler and self-styled converted Democrat who returned to power through elections but struggled to convince Nigerians he could deliver on the change he promised. Never a natural politician, he was seen as aloof and austere. But he retained a reputation for personal honesty, a rare feat for a politician in Nigeria. After 3 failed attempts, Buhari achieved a historic victory in 2015, becoming the country's first opposition candidate to defeat an incumbent. In 2019, he was re-elected for another 4-year term. Buhari had always been popular among the poor of the north, known as the talakawa in the Hausa language, but for the 2015 campaign, he had the advantage of a united opposition grouping behind him. Many of those who supported him thought his military background and disciplinarian credentials were what the country needed to get to grips with the Islamist insurgency in the north. Buhari also promised to tackle corruption and nepotism in government, and create employment opportunities for young Nigerians. But his time in office coincided with a slump in global oil prices and the country's worst economic crisis in decades. His administration also came under fire for its handling of insecurity. While campaigning, he had promised to defeat the Islamist militant group Boko Haram. But the group remains a threat, and one of its factions is now affiliated to the so-called Islamic State group. There was also an upsurge in deadly clashes between farmers and ethnic Fulani herders in central Nigeria. Mr. Buhari, a Fulani, was accused of not being tough enough on the herders or doing enough to stop the crisis. The activities of so-called bandits in the northwestern part of the country saw the abduction of hundreds of secondary school students. Under his watch, armed forces were accused of human rights abuses, like opening fire on anti-police brutality protesters at the Lekki tollgate in Lagos in October 2020. By 1978, Buhari, then a colonel, had returned to being a military commander. His tough stance in 1983, when some Nigerian islands were annexed in Lake Chad by Chadian soldiers, is still remembered in the northeast, after he blockaded the area and drove off the invaders. The end of 1983 saw another coup, against elected President Shehu Shagari, and Buhari, now a major general, became the country's military ruler. By his own account, he was not one of the plotters but was installed, and subsequently discarded, by those who held the real power and needed a figurehead. Other accounts suggest he played a more active role in removing Shagari than he was willing to admit. Buhari ruled for 20 months, a period remembered for a campaign against indiscipline and corruption, as well as for human rights abuses. About 500 politicians, officials and businessmen were jailed as part of a campa.